Hi everyone, this is Mr. Chang. We're going to do lesson 3, integral exponents, and we're going to do a few homework questions together. So let's start. This is page 80. I'll scroll down. I'll pick a few questions. So let's start with question 5. So I'm interested in A and B. So here we have two expressions, one without a bracket, one with a bracket. So I just want to show the difference. With negative exponent, we know we need to flip the term, like take the reciprocal. For this one, you only take the reciprocal of the 3. For this one, you take the reciprocal of the entire term. So, what do you do? What do you do with the negative? It stays on top. So if you flip the 3 to the bottom, well, what happened to the top? Well, you're left with a negative, but then you can't just put a negative there. You put a number. So you will put a negative 1 over 3 square. Right, I put a square there because that's why I flip it to the bottom. I have a negative exponent. So I flip it to the bottom. The negative stay on top. And then, so the answer is negative 1 over 9. This is same as putting the negative in the front. Actually, if there's a negative there, it doesn't matter where you put it, in the front, top, or bottom. It just means the whole term is a negative term. Now, how about for B? Well, B is different because now the negative exponent 2, negative 2, apply to the entire term. So when you do the negative, like one way to make it clear is easier to flip the whole thing to the bottom, right? And then with a square. Now when you square negative 3, when you square the negative become positive, square 3 become a 9. So it's become positive 1 over 9. So do you see the difference here? All right. One is negative 1 over 9, one is positive 1 over 9. So it's different. Let's try another question. I'll move to question 10, for example. All right. So when you solve the B, there are two ways you can do it. Now this is just all B, right? So one way is don't flip any B, just add all the exponent because this is all multiplying, right? Multiplying, 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 multiplying. So they're just all multiplying this power together. So first deal with the positive or negative. It is negative. Next, you deal with the number, which is 50, right? So it's always the sign and then the coefficient, the number, and then the variables. So variables are all B. To use exponent law, all the base have to be the same, so they're all B. So you're going to add all the exponent. So you add 8 plus negative 12, right? Plus a 3 plus a negative 12. So you're adding all this together because you're multiplying. So the answer is negative 50 B. So basically 8 plus 3, 11. You minus 12 two times, so it's negative 13, right? So this is still on top, and then you only do this in the last step, negative 50 over B13. Okay, so this is one way. And I leave the negative in the front or top, it's the same, doesn't matter, right? And then you put this in the bottom because you have a negative coefficient. So this is one way. Okay, so it depends on the arrangement. Sometimes this way I think is easier, right? Now another one, I'll do another way here, is to flip the number first. So the first expression become 5b8 over b12. Again, why do I flip it to the bottom? Because it's negative exponent. And then you multiply with negative 10b3, and then you put the b12 in the bottom. And then you can carry on, right? Negative 50, the top is b11, the bottom is b24 because you add them, right? When you multiply them. And then you can see there are you dividing power, so 11 minus 24 is negative 13. Negative 13 mean is in the bottom, right? It's not on the top. So final answer. Of course, you get the same thing, right? Another way to understand this is you have more B in the bottom than the top. So the result should have B in the bottom rather than on the top. Okay, so both ways, two ways. either deal with the negative sign first by flipping to the bottom, or you can deal with them directly. Okay, and it depends on the question. Sometimes one way is better than the other, so it's up to you. So if you are flexible in either way, that will be perfect. Now let's move on to other questions. So say D, okay, question 11D. Now it looks very complicated, right? So this mix of positive and negative. You can either put the negative inside, right? Or you can flip the whole term. I think it's easier to flip it. So let's flip it. So this one remains here. This one means this whole term should flip to the bottom. Now it is on top. Whenever it's by itself, not a fraction is considered on top. You flip it to the bottom, become 1 over that, right? Become in the bottom. This whole thing now is in the bottom. Change it to positive sign. Divided by negative, right? Divided by negative means you flip it to the bottom, right? But how about divide mean, right? See, I put this in the bottom with a positive sign. But then divide mean you multiply by the reciprocal. So this flip back to the top. So if you rewrite it, it will become something like that, right? So I'm just multiply by the reciprocal. You put this back to the top, right? It's over 1, well, which means nothing. Okay? And then what do we do? Well, you need to do with the bracket first. So let's work with the brackets. So I'll copy this number. Let me cube everything here. Cube everything. Cube negative 2 is negative 8. Cube A negative 2 is A negative 6. Cube B is 3, right? Remember, you multiply. And then here, square negative 5 is 25, positive. The negative sign disappear. A 16, B negative 18, right? You use times 2. When you have power on powers, you times 2. So the second step, you get rid of the brackets. Now you can deal with all the variables. Okay, let's deal with the sign. It's a negative term. All right. Gain doesn't matter if you put the negative on top and the bottom. So let me put a sign here. Negative AB is same as negative A over B is same as A over negative B. So you can just put the negative anywhere you want. The negative, if there's one negative, it means the term is a negative term. If you have two negative, right, they cancel out. Okay, let's come back here. So the entire term is negative. Let's look at the number. 5 times 25, there's 125, that's on top. And then the 8 will be in the bottom. So let's keep it there. Now let's look at the A. A3 times A16, you add them, that's 8, 19. You can flip this to the top, or here you're dividing, mean you minus. So A19 minus negative 6, that's plus. So A25. This is same as putting this term to the top, become A6 on top, and then you just add them all together. Finally, B2 times this one, so you add the exponent, B2 2 plus negative 18, that's negative 16. And then you minus, because you're dividing by 3, negative 16 minus 3, that's negative 19. So you can write B negative 19 on top, or negative exponent mean you put it in the bottom. Here we go. Okay, so that's the answer. All right, so let's try. Okay, all right, so let's do question 13 here. Okay, question 13, part E. Okay, so I think the easiest way is to deal with the negative on the outside by flipping everything inside. Negative means you flip everything, right? You flip the top to the bottom, bottom to the top. And then the 1 power, everything power to 1 doesn't change anything. And now then you flip the other one. You can flip the x to the top and then the y to the bottom. Okay, negative exponent mean top to bottom, bottom to the top. So this negative flip the whole thing, each negative flip each part. Finally, you deal with the 2 here. what do you do with the negative sign? You can just leave it in the front. Okay, so that's the final answer. Now let's try F. Same thing. What do you do first? Well, because of the negative sign, let's flip everything. All right, let's just flip everything. So take the time to write out each one. All right. Next, I suggest you to deal with the inside first before you square everything, or you can just square everything. It's the same. Okay. So let's simplify the inside. All right, 8 and 12 divided by 4 is a 2 and 3. And then x negative 1 divided by x3, what is that? X negative 1 minus 3, that's x negative 4, which means the x goes to the bottom. x4 go to the bottom. Another way to understand that is, you put this x negative 1 mean put the x1 in the bottom. x3, x1, you have x4 in the bottom, right? Either way, you will get the same answer. And then same here, right? y5, if you have one y, then you have y4. But now you have a negative 1. Negative 1 means you flip this to the top, you have y1 on top, y5, y1 is a 6. Another way to think about this is use exponent law. y5 divided by y negative 1, you minus the exponent. 5 minus negative 1 is also a 6. Now you just square everything. Square the negative positive, square 2, square y6, square 3, square x4. Okay, one more example. Question 14. B. Okay, what do you do here? All right, first I will deal with this negative sign, okay? And I'll deal with this bracket separately, okay? All right, negative sign means you flip everything around. Okay, you do it like that. This now become positive. And then here, 14, anything to the power of 0 is just 1. Okay, it doesn't matter how complicated it is. Anything to the power of 0, 1. And then here, I'll write it this way. Now, this next step, what I want to show you is, I want to show you, I'll deal with all the negative sign now, negative sign, all this. What I'm going to do, I'll just put them to the new place. Okay, so all the term that I didn't change, I'll just write it here. All the term that didn't change, I'll write it here. So you need to have patience, right? Times all the term doesn't change, and then all the negative one, I'll put it, make it positive. Did you see what happened here? I make it positive by dealing with the negative exponent by flipping them. Now everything is positive here, so everyone's happy. And now let's move on. So in order to deal with this square, I can combine everything here first. So x5, all right, 7, w6. There's one z on top, 4z in the bottom, z3, right? You just minus it. 1 minus 4 is negative 3, or it's put in the bottom. Here, the 1 disappears, so just 14x8, z8. This is a multiplication, not x. So finally, let's square everything. x10, 49, w12, z6. Okay, there's a 49 in the front. All right, these cancel out. This term is 14x8, z8. So final step, 14x18 on top because you add the exponent. In the bottom, w12, z6 and 8, you add them. So this is my final answer. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope you will spend the time trying to understand all the homework questions. They could be confusing at time, but if you stick to the exponent law and do deal with each one of them one by one carefully, and you should be able to get the answer. All right, see you. Bye.